I left Da Nang a few months ago, and despite me loving Nha Trang, what are some things that I miss about Da Nang? There are definitely a good amount of them, so let's get started. Number one is definitely the English community. So if you go to Da Nang and you speak to some people on the road, most likely they are going to speak English. Here in Nha Trang, not so much. It's typically Russian or Korean. There is definitely an English community here, but it's rather small. We're in the minority. And the great thing about Da Nang is you can go to a place to eat and people will bump into you and talk to you in English. And I do miss that quite a lot. It's surprising that after living in different countries for years which don't speak very good English, how much I valued that in Da Nang. And if you really value English, then that is definitely the place for you to go if you want to meet expats. And talking about expats, number two is the expat community. The expat community is very strong in Da Nang. Most people are living there. It's not tourism. Where here in Nha Trang, it's mainly tourism. People come, people go. There are people that live here, but they're just really hard to find. When I would go into a place such as a bar or somewhere to eat in Da Nang, and I spoke to someone, they were either here typically for the lowest amount, which was 1 to 3 months, but then you bump into so many people that actually live there and they've been living there for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and they're having a great time. The expat scene in Da Nang is just so much better. People are very polite there, they're very nice. The demographic is rather limited, I would say. It's typically an older group of males, where Nha Trang is more diverse for expat community, but that doesn't really change how welcoming and friendly the expat community is in Da Nang. And you just won't ever quite find that same expat community easily in Nha Trang. And number three is the cheaper food in the tourist area. So you're going to watch my videos about Nha Trang and go, oh, it's cheaper than Da Nang, which it is. But you're going to come down to Nha Trang, you're going to go in the city center, and then you're going to go, wow, this place is actually rather expensive. Now, the thing that you need to understand about the difference between Da Nang and Nha Trang is Da Nang is focused towards expats, and there isn't as many food options as Nha Trang. If you come to Nha Trang, there's going to be restaurants everywhere, and I'm talking specifically international restaurants. Now, with all of this tourism in Nha Trang and all of these international restaurants, more often than not, you're actually going to see higher prices, as well as that it's mainly seafood based here. So that is also going to bump up the prices. But in Nha Trang, with more competition, there is good deals. You're just going to have to look for them. In Da Nang, I found that the prices are high for international food in particular, but across the board, they're typically a bit cheaper in terms of the amount of options in the tourist center. That's not to say that you can't get cheap food in Nha Trang. Trust me, you can. There is cheap food everywhere. You just need to look for it. But in Da Nang, it's a lot simpler. There's not as many options and they're typically cheaper. The beach food and the bars. So surprisingly about Nha Trang, which is actually, I kind of like it about it, is if you walk down Nha Trang's beach road, there's not as many bars or like food places on the actual beach itself. In Da Nang, you've got tons of them. There's plenty of them going across. There are some really expensive ones, and there's some great deals where you can get like decent food and really cheap alcohol on the beach. While Nha Trang's is just more beauty and they've just kind of kept the nature look to it and more footpaths, and it's a lot more kind of walkable. But that was something that's very surprising for more of a party scene that Nha Trang has. They don't have as many bars and clubs and stuff on the beach road. And they're typically a little bit more expensive than Da Nang, from my experience. The visa run is a bit more of a pain in the ass in Nha Trang than it is in Da Nang. So in Da Nang, you can basically do it in 15 hours and it's pretty simple and straightforward. In Nha Trang, it's 22 hours to 23 hours. So it's quite a lot more effort and hassle to do, as well as Da Nang, it just seems like they've got it more organized because there's just one service rather than over here they've got a bunch of services and people kind of bounce between them. So there can be some inconsistencies of quality. So that's definitely something that is a huge pro to Da Nang that I do miss. And talking about visa runs, we have the airport. So I don't really see the big deal about this. People complain about it. I've seen it in my comments. They're like, oh, but the airport's so far away. In Da Nang, the airport is great because it's centrally located. You can just basically get out of the airport, take a 10-minute taxi ride, and you're at your hotel. And that is great. That is definitely a huge pro over Nha Trang. I think this is overblown because in Nha Trang it's about 40 minutes to an hour away depending on where you are. But how often are you actually going to the airport? Like if you're living here, what difference does it really make? So I think this is very overblown, but I do need to address it since many of you like to comment about that. But honestly, are you really going to use it that often? Probably not. You're here in Vietnam, you want to save a couple of dollars. So to me, it doesn't really matter. And another huge pro for me personally, and some people are not going to agree on this one, is that it is so much hotter here in Nha Trang, and Da Nang, it's a lot cooler, and I like the coolness. So for example, today, it's 26 degrees in Da Nang, and in Nha Trang, it's 32 degrees. It is hot here. The great thing though about Nha Trang over it is it doesn't rain and it's not cloudy as often. Funnily enough, I'm saying that it is cloudy today. But in general, it's just sunny. So for me, that is a huge bonus to Da Nang. I know it rains a lot more there. It doesn't really rain much here, but I don't mind the rain. The rain doesn't bother me. The heat and the humidity does. Now, when it comes to humidity, they're pretty equal. I have seen days where Da Nang's high and then some days Nha Trang's high. It's pretty much the same, but the heat is definitely hotter here. Another huge thing that I miss in Da Nang is the expats just seem more open in general. Now this probably comes down to the language barriers that are here that I face, so that is definitely going to be a big thing. But people in Da Nang are just great, the expat community. You can sit down by yourself and you can eat your food. Don't worry, you can talk to the person next to you and they're going to be so open to talk to you. I cannot tell you how many times I've met people in Da Nang, some of them watch this channel, and it's just started by me just sitting there and just talking to the table next to me, and you sit down and you meet this great new person. Sometimes they live there, sometimes they don't, they're only there for a short period of time. But you can have these great conversations and you meet a friend instantly. Now the problem with Nha Trang is there are expat spots, I do visit them for English, but in general, if I'm out somewhere, it's going to be a different language that everyone's speaking. So it's hard to break through that barrier. And that doesn't bother me too much. It's nice sitting at the table and then next to you, you can just talk to the people next to you and knowing that most of the time they're going to speak English. But hey, that's one of the trade-offs that I have when I chose Nha Trang. And here's a bonus one, a bit of a funny one. So this is going to come down to personal preference, but for me, in Da Nang, don't take this offensively if you live in Da Nang, because I love it. In Da Nang, everyone kind of dresses down, kind of how I'm dressed, right? It's kind of my knockoff shirt, I've kind of got knockoff shorts, and it's a bit of fun. Everyone's kind of the typical Thailand, Bali vibes of dressing. When you come to Nha Trang, you're going to feel very out of place very quickly. There are people that are dressed up to the T. I mean, we're talking full makeup, like proper clothes, and that's obviously because the demographic is much different. It's a lot of tourism, so they bring their clothes from home, and it's not people just living here, just throwing on some shirts. So there's sometimes I walk down the road and I just look around and I just stand out because everyone just looks so incredibly stunning, so incredibly stunning. And here I am just wearing this. So that's a bit of a fun one. So with that information, do what you want. But to me, I missed a name just to blend in with everyone else. Not to say that there are definitely people that dress up in Da Nang, because there are. So now I know what you're thinking. So why did I end up choosing Nha Trang over Da Nang, despite all of these great reasons that I could have stayed in Da Nang for? Well, click on this video here and it will explain everything.